Welcome back to my recap movie. When people become sick, they normally go to the doctor, practice self-medication, or in the worst cases summon a witch doctor. However, when our protagonist's sister falls sick with a deadly and incurable disease, she decides to go to extreme lengths, something which has never been done before. She actually goes to Egypt, resurrect one of the dead mummies, and orders it to treat her dying sister. The plan is a risky one, but it is the only hope she has following this. The movie cuts to a few days in the past in Paris. A middle-aged man named Chopper is heading back home after a long day at work. He's drunk, disheveled, and in desperate need of relieving himself with nowhere to go. Shoepart decides to answer nature's call in the most unconventional of places, right in front of a massive statue. However, as he is about to finish, a strange light emits from nearby, causing him to run away in fear. It was probably the cops. Pro tip: don't pay on the street in Europe unless you want to go to jail. The scene then cuts to the home of an eminent professor of physics, marries Joseph Akea Jose. He has decades of experience in the field, and many believe that he can even perform witchcraft. Jose also has extensive knowledge of ancient Egypt, and at the moment he is busy with telepathic experiments. He holds the belief that life is possible after death. Following this, we are taken to the National Museum of Natural History, where a huge 136-million-year-old egg of a pterosaur is kept low, and behold, Jose makes use of his telepathic powers to hatch the old egg, and a massive pterosaur emerges from it. It turns out the professor can control the bird's physical movements, so he makes it fly the glass ceiling. However, when he loses focus for a split second, it lands on top of a passing car. This results in a deadly crash, killing all the passengers inside. Coincidentally, Shoepart witnesses the incident and reported to the police. In the report, he details how a dinosaur caused the car to fall into the river. When the general public gets to know about this, they are left in utter shock. Many of them even stop going to work, fearing that the dinosaur may attack them too. Therefore, the president of Frost orders the national police to make the case their top priority. We are then introduced to Andre Zipperout the Zorro. Oh God, it's Borofsky, a young man who spends his days working as Dr. Menard's assistant at a botanical garden. He has a deep passion for reading and is an ardent admirer of the adventurous author Adele Blanc-Sec. In his free time, he pens letters to her, hoping that he can win her heart. But despite his persistence, Adele shows no interest in his advances, leaving Andre heartbroken and frustrated. She is currently on an adventure in Egypt to retrieve the mummy of Patmos. Is a popular scholar and an advisor to the Egyptian pharaoh Ramses II. Despite the whole operation being illegal, Adele hires to local Egyptians and manages to sneak into Patmos' tomb. With her sharp mind, she then unlocks the entrance, which was being blocked by a wall. After gaining entry into the tomb, the two men reveal their true colors. It turns out they are thieves who are after the jewels buried in the tomb. They threaten Adele and try to send her away, only to realize that they can't exit the place without her help. Therefore, the thieves agree to let her get the mummy while they keep the gold. After a while, they eventually locate the coffin, which is filled with millions worth of treasure. As they start pocketing it, Adele tries to locate an alternate exit to carry the heavy coffin out of the tomb. Unfortunately, something sets the tomb's anti-theft mechanism and emotion, and it kills the thieves for trying to steal the jewels. Adele is stunned by the sudden turn of events, but before she can even process what happened, a professor named Devuse forms into the tomb with police. It's evident that the two know each other very well, and Devuse demands to know why she is after the mummy. Left with no choice, Adele finally reveals that she wants to seek Patmos' help to heal her dying sister. Although the mummy is dead, she believes that it can be resurrected, as mentioned in Professor Jose's book Unsafe. Surprisingly, this only makes Devuse burst into laughter, and he arrogantly tells her that it's an impossible concept. He then orders the police to arrest her. Turns out they are planning to execute her without trial. Adele is given one last wish when she uses it to ask for a cigarette. However, when she has given one, she shoves Devuse into the mummy-making machine and sets the tomb on fire. She then quickly jumps into Patmos' coffin and pushes it into a large well that is connected to a river from the bottom. Meanwhile, Professor Devoe's henchmen rescue him just in time. At the Natural History Museum, Professor Maynard notices the broken pterodactyl egg. Other staff members assume that a visitor vandalized the egg and glass ceiling. However, the theory is proven to be false when Maynard notices that the shells of the egg are still connected to the amniotic membrane. This means that an internal force cracked the egg, which further means that the pterodactyl emerged from it and flew away through the glass. Soon, Inspector Capone arrives to investigate the matter. But Maynard hides his findings and instead advises him to meet Professor Hosea. Meanwhile, at Hosea's residence, he is busy feeding the giant pterodactyl when there's a sudden knock on the door. To his surprise, it's the cunning Inspector Capone. In a state of panic, Jose hastily hides the colossal bird behind thick curtains, hoping to avoid any unwanted attention. However, Capone invites himself in for lunch, leaving Jose with no other option but to entertain Jane, his uninvited guest. As he serves boiled eggs to the inspector, the pterodactyl suddenly becomes aggressive and attacks Capone before flying away. This scares the life out of the inspector, and he ordered his men to take the professor into custody. Who does the sky sink is Hagrid. In the next scene, Adele brings the mummy back home from Egypt. She lives with her ailing sister, who is completely better at, and it's then revealed that the latter ended up in this state after a long hairpin got stuck in her head. Meanwhile, Adele notices the million letters Andre has sent to her, but as always she pays them dust and goes on a better day. Later that day, Adele comes across Andre dropping yet another letter at her door. After politely getting rid of him, she notices a new newspaper report about Jose's arrest and death sentence. Overwhelmed with worry, she rushes to the jail disguised as a lawyer to meet him. Jose reveals to her that he has the ability to bring creatures back to life as evidence by the pterodactyl. He won't be able to help her as long as he is in present. Fidel, desperate to save her sister, who is suffering from a hairpin lodged in her head, begs Jose to revive Patmos, who she believes can provide the cure. However, with his current situation as unable to help as Adele tries to figure out a plan. Unfortunately, her cover is blown and she is thrown out of jail. She once again arrives in a new disguise, but the outcome is the same. After many trials, she finally reteaches Jose Saw, only to learn that he has been transferred out of jail and is going to be executed early in the morning. With this, Adele accepts the fact that she can't save Jose by herself, so she decides to seek the president's help. It turns out she has known the president for quite a while now, and she was one of the first reporters to interview him after he came into power. Adele explains the situation to him, highlighting Jose's scientific credentials and the loss France's scientific community would suffer if he were executed. After hearing her out, the president promises to look into the matter. He then throws a ball and orders his pet dog to fetch it. However, the pterosaur, who happens to be nearby, mistakes the ball for an egg and attacks the president. Adele watches it all go down, so she quickly springs into action and saves him. Unfortunately, no one notices the giant bird, and they assume that Adele attacked the president, hence she is arrested. In the meantime, Capone hires a professional hunter from South Africa to catch the pterodactyl. The movie then cuts to Maynard Botanical Garden, where Andres shows him the nest made by the protected actual. It's then revealed that Andres used his extensive knowledge about dinosaurs to trick the giant bird into building a nest in the backyard. This blows Maynard's mind, and so he commends his apprentice for his intelligence. The police eventually release Adele from custody, and when she returns home, she takes a bath to forget about her woes. While she's at it, she decides to read Andre's latest letter, Lo and behold, it reveals that the bird lives in Maynard's botanical garden. Hoping that it would lead her to Professor Jose, she rushes to Andre, gives him a kiss, and then requests him to take her to the bird. After reaching there, Adele quickly befriends the pterodactyl and uses it to save Professor Jose from getting executed. They then return to the garden, as anywhere else is not safe for the giant beast. Maynard is pleasantly happy to see as it turns out the two professors or childhood friends. Unfortunately, the South African also arrives there and shoots the pterodactyl at point blank range. This causes immeasurable pain to both the beast and Jose, as their souls appear to be connected to one another. Maynard quickly snatches the gun from the hunter and shoos him away, but the damage has already been done, hence with time running out, Adele quickly springs into action, asking Andre to keep the bird safe while she and Professor Jose rush back to her home to tend to her ailing sister. There, the professor makes a circle of antique things around himself and starts performing his magic. It seems as if he is going to succeed, but halfway through he suddenly loses power and dies. This devastated Ellen, she seemingly gives up. However, her sorrow is short-lived, as she soon discovers that Jose actually resuscitated Patmos before passing away. It turns out the pharaoh's medical doctor was he buried right next to him. Oh, that helps. This makes sense. A flashback then reveals that Adele's sister got injured during a tennis match between the two. During the game, Adele accidentally struck her sister on the forehead with the ball. As a result, the latter fell on her back with her head landing on her hairpin. The whole story makes Patmos emotional, and he expressed regret over not being able to help her. However, he makes a revelation that Jose's telepathic power must have resuscitated the dead within a 2-kilometer radius. This gives it all hope, and she rushes to the Louvre where the mummy of Ramses II and his servants have been put on display. She takes her sister and Patmos along with her as well. The latter helps them gain museum, and when they are almost caught he puts the guards to sleep on go to sleep. In the next scene, Adele locates the mummies and wake them up from deep sleep. Patmos then explains her sister's ordeal to the pharaoh and requests that he allow his personal doctor Nosebed to cure her. However, this only inferior to the pharaoh as he thinks he's been disturbed for such a trivial affair. Just when it appears as if all hope has been lost, Adele bursts into tears and starts explaining the guilt she has been harboring for the last 5 years. She reveals that the hairpin which has made her sister permanently disabled was actually a gift from her. Upon hearing this, the pharaoh finally feels sorry for Adele and allows Nosebed cure her sister, and in just a matter of seconds the latter removes the hairpin from her head. Afterwards he makes a magic potion using entrails and uses it to cover the hole in the sister's forehead before wrapping a bandage around her head. The pharaoh then kisses the girl that conclude the procedure before leaving with his entourage that go get some sandwiches. After a while she finally wakes up, much to the delight of Adele. They embrace and cry tears of joy while Patmos silently leaves to be with his friends. Several weeks later, Andre again shows up at a dog door, but this time with flowers. However, when he doesn't find her there, he gives them to her sister and dad. There sufficiently kickstarts their romantic relationship. Meanwhile, Adele is seen boarding a ship which is revealed to the RMS Titanic. The movie ends as the evil professor from earlier sarcastically wishes her a happy journey. Please to subscribe and turn on notifications. Watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.